Hi, I'm Dan, and welcome back to the Rock Nerd Radio Show here on YouTube. Listen, I don't care if you can deal with it right now. We are doing a Which is Better, comparing the Transformers Kingdom Leader Class Ultra Magnus to the Transformers Studio Series 86 Commander Class Ultra Magnus. Let's get into it and figure out which one is indeed better.
Come geek out with us on the Rock Nerd Radio Show.
Admittedly, it's a little hard to compare these two together because they are so flippin' big. So I'm just going to remove my Studio Series 86 one for a moment, and we're going to focus on the Kingdom one in his vehicle mode. And it is a tractor-trailer-esque vehicle. This was a retool of the War for Cybertron Siege Ultra Magnus, Leader Class Ultra Magnus. And it kind of, I feel like, is suffering because of it. It had to incorporate a lot of the same pieces, a lot of the same look. While the cab does look more Earth-based, it doesn't really have that Ultra Magnus kind of back to the trailer. So it looks neat, it looks cool. The paint's kind of dark on it. It's a shade darker than I thought maybe it should be, but it isn't bad overall, although it kind of, you can see, kind of sags a little bit. It is, especially when you're holding it up. So it's not the best alternate mode I have ever seen. The Studio Series 86, bringing this back in, looks like that G1 Ultra Magnus, not just cartoon model, but toy. This is definitely the type of trailer that could haul a couple Autobots, whether you put them on top or on bottom. There is room for them. In fact, one of the features of this toy is that you can have a couple Autobots stored here in their vehicle mode. The truck front does indeed look a little more like an Earth-based truck, especially with the smokestacks, whereas this one, yeah, some elements are there, but it's not 100% what you would expect. The windows are a little larger. These are a little slimmer, but they don't look that bad, either one of them in vehicle mode. His paint is a little lighter, which is something I like, but we are going to transform them real quick so you can see what they look like in robot mode, because that's the primary mode that I display my Transformers in. Alright, so both of my Ultra Magnus figures are now in their robot mode, and looking at the two of them, there's definitely a size difference. That's because the Kingdom one is a Leader class figure, while the Studio Series is a Commander class figure, so there is a difference in scale there, and in their sizes. Looking at the Kingdom one first, he is a bit of a darker blue and a darker red. The head sculpt almost gets a little lost in the figure, I feel like, especially the face, because, I have the light on it now, but because of the dark, you almost lose sense of where his face is. There's also these two, nubs sticking out of his shoulder pauldrons here that I don't really think serve much of a purpose to be there. I don't really think they help connect all that much in vehicle mode, unless I kind of missed it. So those are a little unsightly, whereas our Commander Class one, he has a nice bright blue and red. You can even see the Matrix a little bit in his chest there, because he does come with the Matrix. And there doesn't appear to be that much kibble. You got these pieces here up on the shoulders, which you could kind of fold up if you wanted to, which kind of help hide their appearance a little bit. But other than that, there's not much hanging off of him in terms of like pieces that you can see. A couple connector tabs here and there, but nothing all that bad. So really, thinking about it, one other thing to add, he's got a nice bright Autobot symbol here on his shoulder. This Magnus doesn't have anything, so it's, if you didn't know he was an Autobot, maybe you wouldn't know. You probably would, let's be honest. If you're buying Ultra Magnus, you know who he is. So with all that said, I think the paint and overall appearance round is going to go to my Studio Series 86 Commander Class Ultra Magnus. I think he just looks a little nicer. I'm not trying to say that the Kingdom one is bad, but the Commander Class definitely has more of a Ultra Magnus appeal to him. My second round is about the articulation of these figures, and I'm just going to put the Commander Class one aside for a moment while we look at the Kingdom one. So the Kingdom one, this was a remold of the Siege one, and Siege really kind of stepped up the Transformers articulation game. So, his arms, they can go fully around. He's got decent shoulder movement, elbows can bend, and his wrists can, swivel as well. His head can move all around because it's on a ball joint, and he even has waist articulation, but in the armored mode, it kind of gets, I don't have to say kind of, it is inhibited. It doesn't really work. We'll talk about his unarmored mode, maybe in a different round. But legs can kick out, nice heavy ratchets there, kick forward and kick sideways. We get sideways twist here at the thigh, knee bend, and even ankle pivot. Some crazy deep ankle pivot there. So pretty good articulation on this figure, considering he's wearing a whole bunch of armor. Let's trade him out for the Studio Series version real quick. And my Studio Series one has some nice articulation too. Again, at the head, kind of a ball joint here, so wiggle waggle, can kind of go any way you want. He does have waist articulation, so that is there. Need to point that out. The arms are truly interesting because, yes, heavy ratchets, they can go all the way around. They can swivel up kind of in a crazy looking way, which looks neat. And then, of course, they rotate, elbow bend, hands rotate, and we have articulated fingers, which aren't my favorite thing in the world, if I'm being honest, but it's there. He also kind of has additional bend because you can kind of detach this this tab here, and you can kind of get him to go like that. Now that might be good if he's holding the matrix. Otherwise, I don't really know if you're trying to have him hold it with two hands. Otherwise, I don't really know what you would use that extra articulation for, but there's quite a bit there. He also has legs that kick out really far forward and pretty far sideways. Thigh rotation, knee bend, and there is technically a double knee because of transformation, so that's kind of neat. You get a lot of knee movement with him. And although the ankle pivot is there, it's not as far as my Kingdom version, so that is something to think about. So bringing them both back in, we'll put Studio Series over here. We'll put Kingdom in. They both kind of match each other in terms of articulation. I will say, however, the way the arms move on the Studio Series one, and even just the fact that he has articulated fingers, adds a little bit more to him, and he can move his waist freely, whereas this one cannot. So round 2, my articulation round, is going to my Studio Series 86 Commander Class Ultra Magnus. Round 3 is about the accessories that these figures come with, and the Studio Series Ultra Magnus, as you can see, comes with 2 blasters that he is currently holding in his hands. I don't know if I need to count the shoulder missiles, because that is something that is kind of iconic to Ultra Magnus's look and design, so it'd be weird if they weren't there, but that is an accessory. He also comes with a number of blast effects here, so let me just kind of pull them apart so you can see, because there are a lot of them. So he has 2 of this type of blast effect. He has, actually, make that 3 of that type of blast effect. He has various ones like this one with like the smoke coming off of it, this kind of long one, and these two-stage kind of ones. So you can really make it where his blast effects are really just having, you know, a hell of an explosion here if he really wanted to. It does look neat. I will say I had a problem. Oh, and he also has a matrix in his chest. I forgot to say that. I will say I had a problem. This blaster, you can see, doesn't have a tip on it. When I tried plugging the blast effects onto it, it actually snapped the tip right off. So this one does have the tip. You can kind of see that clear piece of plastic there. But this one snapped right off, and that was very surprising to me. I really thought this stuff was made to be sturdy. Very surprised when that happened. So I don't really love the blast effects. They're cool. You know, they look decent if you're doing some action figure posing and stuff, but not my favorite accessory. And this brings me to the Kingdom version. Looking at his accessories, you know, he really just has the big blaster and the shoulder cannons. But one thing that this Magnus has that the other one does not is the ability to do what the original Ultra Magnus toy did. I can literally take off his armor pieces on his legs, his shoulders, his elbows and shoulders, wrists and shoulders rather, and his chest to have an inner white Ultra Magnus robot. And I don't know if that necessarily makes the armor pieces count as accessories. I'm going to call it that in this case. And that is something that I always thought was really cool. You know, when I was a kid, I never had the G1 Ultra Magnus. I remember looking at him in like the Transformers toy catalog that I had, and really thinking that the fact that there was a essentially white Optimus Prime that you would then armor up to make Ultra Magnus, I thought that was awesome. They never touched upon it in the show, but but in the Dreamwave comics, they excuse me, they did talk about it, which I thought was a neat touch. So because of the fact that my Kingdom one can do like the original toy thing, which is adding all these bits and pieces to him to make a big armored Ultra Magnus, he's gonna win my accessory round 3. I think that's just a really cool feature that, as much as I like the Studio Series one, it doesn't have, and I kind of missed. My fourth round is about the price and availability of these figures. The Kingdom Ultra Magnus is no longer on shelves, whereas the Commander Class one, the Studio Series one, is starting to hit shelves. Because they are different size classes, there is a price difference here. This Magnus, when he came out, was about $50. This Magnus currently coming out is about $90. That's a big difference. You know, you can almost get 2 of these for the price of 1. I will say, looking at eBay, I've seen listings for my Kingdom one go all over the place for as low as $20 to as much as $50, like his original price. You know, that's a big difference if you're kind of a, I'm going to say, casual Transformers collector. If you just want to have a Magnus to have a Magnus, this might be the easier one to go with. Of course, you're going to have to get it online. You know, I'm looking at things like eBay, and you're going to have to wait a little while for it to ship. But this one right now, it is sold out on Hasbro Pulse. I don't know if it's available on other sites like Big Bad or TF Stores. I haven't really checked. But that $90 price tag might be kind of hard for you to swallow if you're not the most, dedicated Transformers collector. Honestly, I didn't love the fact that I had to pay that much for Magnus. But I think you get more for the $90 price tag with our Studio Series one. But if you're just looking at which is cheaper, which might be easier to get, he's readily available. I'm sure people are dumping theirs in favor of the Studio Series one. So round 4 goes to my Kingdom Ultra Magnus. Round 5 is about the display compatibility of these figures. Quite honestly, I have a Studio Series Autobot shelf. It's actually right behind both of these Ultra Magnus figures. And as much as I like these figures, the Commander Class Rodimus Prime that came out in the Kingdom line, his robot mode is the same height as this Ultra Magnus. When I think of Ultra Magnus, I think of a large, heavy, just a big robot, a hefty robot. And that's what this one is giving me. You know, it is a different size class, a larger size class than my Kingdom one. But it does look really cool. You know, I'm not going to pull everybody down, but I did look at these figures earlier to kind of see, which one scales better. And honestly, if you want that nice, big, tough-looking Ultra Magnus, you're going to get your money's worth from the Commander Class one. So he wins my 5th round, the display compatibility round. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that one. So with a final score of 3-2, the Studio Series 86 Commander Class Ultra Magnus wins on this edition of Which is Better. He may not have been worthy to carry the Matrix, but he is worthy to stand on my Studio Series shelf, looking pretty cool. That is to say that, the Kingdom one it's not a bad figure. It still is a nice figure. I have a shelf of just kind of Autobot leaders, different versions of characters throughout the years, and the Kingdom one is probably going to be living on that. But this one is definitely going to take his rightful place on the Studio Series shelf, and I'm honestly very, very excited. So let me know, which Ultra Magnus is your favorite Ultra Magnus? Leave a comment below, and until next time, I've been Dan, you've been pretty awesome, those have been some Ultra Magnuses, and I'll see you around.
Come geek out with us on the Rock Nerd Radio Show.